We already got people going question mark. Love it.
Welcome, Pewter Report readers and listeners, to another edition of the Pewter Report podcast, a Victory Monday edition NFC Championship game, Victory Monday podcast. Taylor Jenkins is with me here, and this podcast is energized by our friends over at Celsius. Taylor, crazy game yesterday. Not sure if you heard, but the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the very same Tampa Bay Buccaneers that you know very well and hold very dear to your heart, are in the Super Bowl. How do you feel about that?
It's wild. I mean, this is the first time since I was, 8 years old, we can say that? Yeah. I was a child. I was so young that it's a blur to me thinking back on the last time I could say the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to the Super Bowl. So 13-year playoff streak broken, almost 20 years since they've been in the last Super Bowl. Wild experience. We knew they couldn't make it easy yesterday. They had a 28-10 lead in the third quarter, and I said, this ain't going to cut it. You got to get it a little closer. You got to make the fans' heart rates rise. They did that, but they came out victorious in a wild Victory Monday that I honestly can't believe is here.
I know. It's man, even when these playoffs started, I think we felt good about Washington, but after that, I was unsure what would happen. Yeah. And the fact that you're here, it's just so difficult to get to the Super Bowl. And, this Bucs team, the journey to get here, man, we'll reflect on it some today, and we'll take your questions, your comments, your criticisms, your thoughts about the game that just happened, your thoughts about the Super Bowl against the Kansas City Chiefs. We're going to get into all of that today. We're going to reflect some on this season and how players that have struggled have stepped up, and what an unbelievable team effort it has been to get to this point. It is not the blueprint necessarily that has happened in the NFL over the last 5-10 years the teams have followed, but the Bucs are here, and it is sweet. And all of this on the podcast is brought to you by our friends over at Celsius. If you don't know, Celsius powers active lives every day, Taylor. I've got my Celsius right here, a little blueberry pomegranate. That's my favorite. If you listen to the podcast regularly, blueberry pomegranate is my go-to. It's a Victory Monday, so I got to have it out. Also, I've slept like 4 hours because I've written like 6 articles and watched tape and called advertisers and all kinds of stuff today. So it's been one of those days. I'm pumped to be on the podcast with y'all even tonight, but I need one of these because I got a few more hours to go. I got to finish this game tape, write another column. And that's what's great about Celsius is they give you that energy. There's not the crash afterward. You don't get that bloated feeling you get from other things. You've got that kind of kick that you get from, if you like soda, honestly, I think these are like for you. And I'm not even a soda person, and I love Celsius, but I think they're really for you because they've got that bite, that spark that you get, the caffeine and everything, but there's none of the sugar. There's no sugar in these at all. And so they're just awesome for you. They give you the energy you need. The flavors are great. They taste great. There's a million different flavors. You can find them all over the Tampa Bay area, or if you're not in the Tampa Bay area even, look up Celsius.com, get your store locator out, check it out where your local places that you can get Celsius are, or just order them on Amazon. Get the variety pack on Amazon and help yourself to a bunch of different flavors. I've probably tried 12 or 13 at this point, and all of them are good. Literally all of them. Yeah. I did not expect that to like all of them, but they've been great. So Celsius, especially the new Heat. Oh man, the new Heat are awesome. Check them out.
So
they're really, really good stuff for sure. All right, we got to get to these questions. Today is Victory Monday Q&A with the fans. So if you have questions, just let us know, man. Fire away, and let's get to talking about this game and breaking it down. There's lots to get into and discuss from this game and honestly from the season and things like that. So we've got a ton to tackle today. Let's see, shifting through the questions here. What's up? Super Bowl bound. Let's go. Pewter Report gets press passes, right? You guys are going to witness history. Congrats, long lost Glazer. much appreciated, as are all of your comments, questions. If you have super chat donations for us, we greatly appreciate those. We are close to getting to that point where we need to be able to get cameras for all of us to upgrade this podcast significantly. And so we appreciate all those super chat donations, obviously, especially in this COVID era. Very, very helpful for us. Long Lost Glazer says, we get press passes and we are going to witness history. Yes, at least Scott will be at the game. One of the things that I think is a total unknown for everyone is in this COVID era with the press passes being what they are and obviously being the Super Bowl and lots of national media are going to want to be at this game. We aren't really totally sure what kind of availability. I mean, I feel good about us getting at least one, like we always do, but we've been able to get multiple ones for regular games, but it's the Super Bowl, and this is going to be a different animal with the press box being what it is. So it might be tough to get more than one, but either way, it's going to be awesome. The team we cover is going to the Super Bowl, and I don't care who you are, man. I've said it before. If you're saying you're not excited about the team you cover winning and being successful, you're just crazy.
You're lying. You're lying.
Right. You grew up rooting for them, Taylor, so you're going to feel that way no matter what. There's no way.
You're telling me that Jenna Lane, that Greg Allman, that Rick Stroud, that, all these people who have covered the team for a decade plus. Scott, granted, Scott, he, a few of them have been around since they went to the last Super Bowl.
Right.
But those are the rarities. And even then, it's been so long. Are you telling me Scott's not excited to go back to one? To have another experience, it's just something that doesn't come around anymore, or very often. Any sport, it's crazy. To get a chance to look at a team do like this and make this run, just unbelievable.
Right. Yeah, for sure. It's been a blast. There's no question, and it'll continue to be a blast. We're excited about the next couple of weeks doing the media days and things like that. One of the best parts about it is the Bucs just have literally an awesome locker room. They just have a great locker room. The team is, obviously, AB stuff off the field. We're notwithstanding. I'm not saying anything about that, but I'm talking everybody else literally in that locker room, like character-wise, as far as we know, can see, and just with the way, the maturity and the growth. And I just think it's a great locker room to be in. I've been in other locker rooms, been talking to players for years coming out of college and stuff like that. And I think it's just an awesome locker room. It's a special collection of people. There's no doubt about that. Daryl wants to know, will the Cannons fire at the Super Bowl when they normally would? They have not made a decision about this, Daryl. I believe that's the way that this works, is that they're going to have to discuss that. To me, it's just an easy, you make the Cannons fire when anybody scores, but I know Bucs fans might take offense to that.
My.
I'm sorry if that's how y'all feel. I'm not saying that wouldn't feel, but how else do you do it? You can't just do it with the Bucs.
Yeah, I feel like you couldn't just do it with the Bucs. I know everybody in Tampa wants that.
Right.
To be the case. That's the thing. You're hosting a Super Bowl. No team's ever done it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you can't, if the option is to have them fire for both teams or no teams, you cannot have a Super Bowl in Raymond James Stadium and not fire the Cannons. I feel like that's part of the mistake. That is what's so great about what makes Raymond James so fun.
Yeah, I know. It's like you can't really miss out on that part of the atmosphere to something like the Super Bowl. I think you got to use that. They'll definitely be used at the halftime show. I'm sure of that. Jason says, making some crow tonight, Ledyard. First of all, very inhumane. How do you like yours prepared? I don't eat birds other than chickens, I think. I'm trying to think now. But no, I ate my crow last night, Jason, on the podcast. So make sure you go back and listen to Sunday night's podcast where I said I am super happy to be wrong and to be 17-2 on the season. Douglas calls me Benedict John Earl. Very clever, Douglas. I know you thought about that all day yesterday. Just couldn't wait for today's show to throw that one out there. Good stuff. This year feels meant to be. I don't see us losing again to the Chiefs. That's interesting. It does feel a little bit magical. It does feel a little bit of a magical season. Even Vea coming back and the impact yesterday and the way guys have stepped up that just, Andrew Adams getting the game-winning pass breakup. Yeah. You win with both of your starting safeties out against probably one of the best vertical passers in the league. And so, the way Sean Murphy bunting is, we'll talk about this too some, but Taylor, how insane is it that in these playoffs, three of the most impactful Buccaneers, splash play Buccaneers at least, have been Sean Murphy bunting, Devin White, and Leonard Fournette, who at times this season were the three Bucs you were convinced needed to play last. Like everybody was. Yeah. I had fans asking me every show, do we need to sit Devin White on passing downs? On third down, should he come out of the game? They honestly had a point. I don't know if it was ever to that point where he came out of the game, but you find better ways to use them. And I mean, the fact that those three guys have been three of the most instrumental players for this team in the playoffs it's a team. Like, that's what it is. It's a team, and you get your worst players, your players that are struggling the most over the season to play at a high level in the playoffs. I mean, everybody else just has to be decent, right? Solid and do their job, and you've got a chance to make a run like the Bucs have.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you look at, and I think Devin White probably performed better as a full body of work than Sean Murphy-Bunting did, and then Leonard Fournette did. But I mean, there was a point in the season when we were like, you cannot continue to give Leonard Fournette carries. There was a point in the season where we were going,
right,
Sean Murphy-Bunting cannot be the starting wide receiver or starting cornerback in base defense.
Eventually, and let me clarify too, not just us. The Bucs sat Sean Murphy-Bunting down. In base. They started Jamel Dean in base. I mean, Murphy-Bunting still played a lot, but they were clearly trying to simplify things for him. And he said, and the coaches have said, he struggled at points this season. Not only him, but Leonard Fournette. He was inactive, healthy scratch for that Vikings game. That wasn't that long ago. Now he's carrying the load. Like, this wasn't just us and we were wrong, and this was literally the coaches seeing these guys and saying, like, yeah, they're not getting it done. And now here they are playing, there
was a point where we said,
snaps.
Does Cockrell have to come in?
Yeah.
Does Sean Murphy-Bunting have to be a rotation?
It probably should have happened in certain games this season, but they stuck with him, and it's worked out well for them because he's peaking at the right time. And so that's one of the craziest things about this playoff is a couple of the guys that have struggled the most playing some of their best football at this stage in the game. After watching the film, how did Vea look? Sean Ellis wants to know. So I am actually watching offense first, and I started this afternoon.
I'll be watching
finish tonight. And so I've seen a little bit, and I saw him throw their right guard, Lucas Patrick, I believe, on the ground on a play. So I've seen some, and I'll see more tomorrow probably when I watch the rest of the defense. I'm writing about the offense, 4 plays that got the Bucs to the Super Bowl, 4 play calls specifically. I know everybody's like, wow, you liked something about the play calling? I did, actually. I didn't like the first down play calling at all, basically across the board.
No.
But there were a few plays in this game that I thought helped overcome other bad play calls and really propelled the Bucs to the Super Bowl. So I'm writing about those 4 plays. You can see if you can guess them maybe, but I'm writing about those 4 plays for Bucs briefing this week. So it's going to be a fun article. So then I'll look more defense, but we saw enough of Vea live to know that
he's still there.
Good stuff. Yeah.
he's still really good. He's still really massive. He's still an athletic freak despite being almost 350 pounds. So, I mean, someone said, has his absence been understated? I don't think it was ever understated. I mean, coming into the season, we knew how important he was, and we knew what a big loss it was. I mean, not just for the run defense, but he had been so good in the passing game. Mm-hmm. He was essentially a rotational pass rusher yesterday.
Right.
They were keeping him on the bench on first and second down and then bringing him in on third. I think his first 2 plays in the game resulted in a sack.
Yeah.
I mean, that just speaks volumes to what kind of player he is, especially considering early in his career. I mean, say early like he's a 10-year veteran, but first year or two when it was like, okay, he's the nose tackle, he's the run stuffer, he needs to get better in pass rush. And now he's like a rotational pass rusher as he's being weaned back into the game.
Right. It's he's a fascinating player, Taylor, because there are always players that that are so elite in a certain facet that they make teams change the way that they defend you. And Vea's weakness is that he's going to have a hard time ever putting up big sack numbers because he can't really adjust in space to any movement. So like there was one play, it was the play he ran over Lucas Patrick, tossed him aside. It was like, this is the NFL. Like you shouldn't be able to just do that to people. And he does it all the time. But then Rodgers just kind of maneuvers around him. So, I mean,
steps up and goes up.
Right. And he doesn't even.
I think Shaq was held on that play, but
yeah, maybe.
I do remember Shaq was held on that play, but
it's a great play, but it's like there's only like Vea's range of impact is like a little bit smaller than a guy like Aaron Donald or Grady Jarrett or something like that. But the trait that he has is just this overwhelming power. In the NFL, you just don't have a lot of guys that have that moving forward. Like they can anchor and hold their ground. He's obviously elite at that. But the fact that he can do it moving forward, he can keep moving people constantly, almost every play if he's not doubled. You just don't see that all the time. And so I wonder if teams will start changing the way that they pass block him. If they will start literally just trying to get on his edge and run him up the field and have quarterback step into space if they will cut him at some certain points, if they will just double him all the time. I just wonder if he changes protection calls, and then if the Bucs start to adjust off of that. Because one-on-one, I mean, there are good players on the Packers interior offensive line, and they could not hold him one-on-one. I mean, he's just that much of a monster physically. Like, he is a rare player physically with that kind of power in a league where everybody is stout and powerful. He resets that bar.
And now he's using an interior offensive line that's good, but it's not as good as what the Packers rolled out yesterday. It's not as good. Right. And it's not to say that Rodgers isn't a guy who can escape the pocket and make plays out of it. He's not Patrick Mahomes. He's not Russell Wilson, but he's a mobile guy. He's an athletic guy. We've seen that for 15 years from him. And the Bucs were able to really attack him, let alone two missing tackles for the Chiefs.
I would go so far as to say that I don't know I could honestly, in good conscience, pick the Bucs to win. I'm not saying who I'm going to pick yet, but I don't know that I could pick the Bucs to win if Vea wasn't playing. That's how much. If the Bucs defensive line doesn't dominate that game, Taylor, they will lose the game. That's where they have to do. And even if they dominate, they could very well. I mean, that's how good Mahomes is. He hasn't needed an offensive line all year. I mean, Fisher missed a ton of time. Schwartz has missed the whole season. They've lost guys. I mean, Lauren Duvernay-Tardif has not played the entire season. I mean, they lost Osemele like week 2, their other guard. I mean, they've literally got one starter from their regular offensive line. They've got one starter that'll play in the Super Bowl. That's their center.
Who's that, John?
Who is it? I don't even know.
Austin Ryder. Where did he go to school?
Is it Ryder? Is he a USF guy?
Yes, he is.
Wow.
Yeah, I got it.
Hope he gets absolutely dunked on by Vea.
I do too, but go Bulls.
I do too. But no, that is
either way, USF, so it's okay. He can get dunked on by Vea if the Bucs win. Go ahead.
He's carved out a nice little career for himself, let's be honest.
Yeah.
Nick Wright on Fox Sports said the Chiefs will win against the Bucs. I mean, this game is going to be like a 7-point line by the time it's done. Wasn't that what we said this morning? I forget who said it, but
I think it was
probably going to be. The Chiefs will be favored by 7, I would guess, when it's done. I mean, it's going to be odds are going to be stacked against the Bucs, so it's going to be about making the magic happen, man. You got to, and that's what I mean. Defensive line has to wreck. They have to wreck in this game. Has John's camera always been good? It is pretty good, but it's better when we broadcast at night and I use this light right in front of me only. It darkens the background, gives me more of a majestic look. Thank you.
You got the little ring light?
It's not a ring light yet, but I am going to get one of those. But
yeah,
but it functions similarly. Yeah, so it makes the camera look better. It's all about overexposure with the camera. Anyway, I digress. Was Vita Vea's impact underrated by most media since so many things happened to overshadow it? Yes, because they box score scout and he did what in the box score, he didn't light it up, but in terms of impact on the game, he was clearly instrumental in that way. So yeah, as long as it's not in the box score, or most media will probably go to other things. And honestly, as long as quarterbacks exist, most media will talk about other things. You have to have 200 yards as a receiver or something like that. Valdez-Scantling had like 118 yards after the game, and they literally the next day the columns were all about the Packers needed more weapons. I'm like, how could that have been your takeaway?
He had a 50-yard touchdown.
The dude went off. Devontae
even Mercedes Lewis was getting in on the pass game. He had like 2 huge first down catches, and he's a guy that
I was just like, I mean, I do agree with them. The Packers need more weapons, but how could that be the takeaway after this game? There's like a million other things to talk about.
Well,
anyway,
do you think that the Packers are glad that, they may not be going to a Super Bowl, but at least they have Jordan Love?
That's true.
At least they have Jordan Love.
They have the third string running back in A.J. Dillon.
Yeah, A.J. Dillon. There we go.
And
what more do you need?
They have that fullback that they took in the 3rd round.
There you go.
Didn't get any of the good receivers in this historically great wide receiver class, though.
No.
Yeah, they might regret that. Do I think Vita will make a difference against the Chiefs? Lots of Vita questions. Wow. Do I think he'll make a difference against the Chiefs? Yes, extremely much so. Like we said, the Chiefs O-line is not the best, and it's not the healthiest. I'm not sure if it matters against Mahomes or not. I hope Bucs fans at least can be like, okay, like Mahomes is another, as good as Aaron Rodgers is. Mahomes is another animal, dude. The stuff he does is just ridiculous.
How much do you think his turf toe is going to impact him in 2 weeks?
None.
We saw him last night. He was moving around, but he was his. I don't think his normal self. He is unbelievable. He's Patrick Mahomes. He's a whole other animal.
Throws in the grasp of defenders that were.
That is true. That one was unbelievable. He's a superhero.
Yeah, I've never seen anything like him.
No,
and the consistency with which he does it is the most amazing part in my opinion. Now SMB will have to cover Tyreek with safety help. Man, how to defend Tyreek? This is a good topic. Bruce Arians said today that will probably help a little bit more. Again, he's speaking very ambiguously, but I'm reading between the lines. Probably help a little bit more this time is what he said. I think he's talking about their DBs, and I think he's talking about Tyreek Hill. Since in the second half, the Bucs decided to double him, and on certain downs, I will tweet out plays later this week. The Bucs actually doubled Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. I can't remember many times where I've seen two different guys get doubled on a certain play. It was pretty wild.
Falcons second half down 17-0, and that's because they were running like 12 personnel all day.
That was just really
was just like, oh yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah. Because Julio wasn't playing that game, but so I don't know. I mean, it's to me, I don't think the Carlton matchup matters in this. So actually, that gives you some freedom. Like, who is covering Tyreek is less important than how many are covering Tyreek. Yeah. That's the important thing. So yes, I would double Tyreek almost every snap. I would double him as often as possible. That obviously makes you weaker in other areas, but I mean, that's all what you have to do. Like, you really have to do that. Now the Chiefs are still going to counter. They're going to counter with motion before the snap. They're going to counter with getting Tyreek quick hitters and tunnel screens and hoping the guys have aligned off of him and are out of position if they move Tyreek into space. And they are going to do lots of different things. That's what makes them so difficult, is not only is Tyreek arguably the best receiver in the NFL and Kelce arguably the best tight end, and Mahomes the best quarterback in the NFL, but they also have the best play caller and play designer in the league in Andy Reid. So it just becomes totally unfair, and it's very, very difficult to stop. So the Bucs have their work cut out for them. If Todd Bowles balls out, the Bucs could win this game. And if that happens, Todd Bowles, my word, man, like, he goes into defensive coordinator lore. And what is going on with Todd Bowles? We need to like a whole podcast for this, Taylor. Like,
how long did we beg for this?
What is like, this dude literally played zone defense against everybody and gave up everything in the passing game all season long. I mean, we're not
the second matchup against the Saints. I mean, it was so egregious.
What in the world? Like, the
Rams, seemed like everyone and their mother.
Giants, like, I mean, it was every week. It was just like, what? And now we have a situation. He's playing press man across the board all game. You know, I mean, obviously there's reps of zone, like we always said that there should be, but it is predominantly press man. And they all of a sudden in the second half they start pulling out two man. They haven't done two man all season. How many times have I yelled for two man? Like, for man coverage and too deep and taking away big plays and letting the run defense do their thing. Like, if they gas you with the run, they gas you the run, whatever, but you have to construct yourself to be effective against the pass. All of a sudden, he is pulling out all the stuff. And he was unbelievable against Green Bay's mesh concepts the other day. The fact that he was cutting the crosser with a safety, often from the opposite side of the field. Bucs safeties did such a great job of executing. It was a masterful game plan for the second straight week against an offensive mind that is really, really difficult to solve. I can't say enough good things about Todd Bowles right now. And I was very harsh critic of him, and I think it was warranted at the time.
I absolutely agree.
This is why it's so important. You got to keep an open mind and not set yourself up against anybody. Like, because like we said with Sean Murphy Bunting and with Leonard Fournette, like, leave the door open for guys to get better, for people to change, to grow. And, you know, Todd Bowles, it really didn't look like it was going to happen this season. I thought the evidence was overwhelming against what this defense was doing. But at the last second, this man has changed the game. I don't know why it took that long. Yeah. I think it's fair to be critical of the fact that it took this long, but it's obviously worked out for them to pull it out when it did, because they got to the big dance and then made adjustments from there, and it has surprised people. I mean, not only the cover one, not only just so much man coverage, but also going cover two man late in that game was clearly unexpected. He had pressures I hadn't seen for before, I hadn't seen in weeks in that game against Aaron Rodgers. Masterful game plan. Best anybody played him all season, I would say.
You hear it a lot, especially in college football, where you kind of have a lot of teams have schedules, and then you got the rivalry week, you know, like around Black Friday in November. And I think it's always ridiculous. I don't think this ever carries any credence, but you hear maybe they're saving the real playbook for this game. maybe they're saving this playbook for this game. And I don't think it ever has any credence. I don't think it's ever a legitimate argument. But if there was ever a time where you were going to convince me that a coach was saving a playbook, I mean, there were times where his blitzes were predictable. Like, you could see where the pressure was coming from. He was running zone for weeks at a time. And then all of a sudden, like, a light switch went off. And I don't know whether that has the confidence in the way the secondary is playing. If he didn't feel confident at times that players could do what he wanted them to do in that fashion, in that role, I don't know if that plays a part.
I mean, they were far from perfect when he did do press. I will say that they were better. Clearly, Carlton was especially better, and I know he didn't have the best game yesterday. He was okay. I mean, he made some plays, but he also struggled at times. But he was a far better player in press man all season long. Chalmers Bunting struggled no matter what. Jamel Dean, we hardly saw in press all year. Really, we haven't seen much of him press at all. So there were. It wasn't like everybody was perfect in press, but there was no way that it wasn't. I mean, it's clearly the right call all along. Like I said, I talked to when it was clear that things weren't changing, despite ample evidence in the regular season that they should change. I went and talked to people who'd covered him for years, and they were like, "Dude, welcome to the party. Get in line." Like, we literally said this for years about Todd, like, that he would not change what he was doing. I was like, all right, so this is a problem. So
this is the way it's going to go.
Yeah, and then boom, and on this stage, he's done it, and he's done an unbelievable job. It is an admirable performance for sure, to say the least, the way this defense has turned it around. So really, really good stuff. Terrence asked us, and this is the question of the pod right here, right? I mean, how concerned are you about the Bucs offensive approach? Don't think they realistically could have played a whole lot better in the last couple games defensively. I mean, they are not like this elite all pros everywhere defense. They're growing. They are young. They were missing 2 safeties. You'd like not to give up the 50-yarder and some other things maybe. And going back to the Saints game, you obviously don't want to give up that trick play, but you get got sometimes. The NFL, it's hard to play defense. But offensively, they're leaving a lot of meat on the bone. They really are. Like, drops have been a killer in the playoffs. I mean,
and that can happen.
Killer. Like, they have dropped so many passes. They've left yards on the field. They've dropped touchdowns in multiple games. Chris Godwin dropped one against Washington. He dropped one against the Saints last week before the half. He played better. He had a drop, but he played better in this one. Mike Evans drops the long ball down the sideline in the second half. That should have been caught. They end up with an interception on that drive, I believe, later. But that's one that sets you up, I think, around the 20-yard line. If he catches that inside the 20, maybe even with him falling forward there, I was looking at today. So, I mean, those are plays. I mean, Brady in this postseason, he is 8 of 24 on passes of 20 yards or more. 4 incompletions have been dropped. So he is throwing the deep ball right now.
50%. Yeah,
and they're not counting either of the Gronk off the fingertip. They're not counting Chris Godwin's back shoulder throw last week against the Saints before he dropped the one in the end zone. Those are all passes that could be caught and weren't. And excluding those, he's still hitting 50% of his 20-plus yard throws or more down the field, 20-plus yards or more down the field in the playoffs, which is a great rate. If you're in 50% of those things, that's one of the top rates in the NFL if you extrapolate that over a season, that percentage. And that's not even counting some of these other catches that were tough catches, but that's when you're balling, when you're hitting on all cylinders, when your elite players are playing elite ball, those are catches that are made. Bucs haven't made those in this playoffs. I actually think I know Godwin made the great catch, the 52-yarder, and I give him tons of credit for that. I think it's been more underwhelming for their top skill guys than it has been great. And then in the second half, Brady also struggled. He shouldn't have thrown the first interception. The second interception was catchable, but again, it's high. It's a tougher catch than it needs to be. Evans is open on that play. And I know there's some underneath coverage he's trying to throw over that fans don't necessarily see when they see it from the top. But, that's got to be a better ball. And so that was the first time we saw Brady start to slip a little bit with it. And so it's got to be great against the Chiefs. I mean, there's no question. Like, I know we said this last week going into so maybe it's not true. Maybe the defense plays unbelievable.
Maybe they go nuts. But I don't know if you saw this stat today. I had to look it up. Patrick Mahomes has had 63 full non-kneel down drives in his postseason career. The Chiefs have averaged 3.75 points per drive on those possessions.
Like, if you don't go into the game with that knowledge, Taylor, you're not going to get it offensively. Like,
you're not.
The Bills didn't get it. They're kicking field goals.
If you kick a field goal, you are immediately. If you are kicking a field goal, you are behind the 8 ball. If you are punting, you are way behind the 8 ball. Yeah. This is not a team. This is literally not a team that you can. I mean, granted, you can't score a touchdown every possession. It's unrealistic to believe. But this is not a team that you can give away drives. And we said that about the Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, and they still almost blew it. They built a 28-10 lead and almost blew it because of punting and wasting opportunities. But like we said, I know Aaron Rodgers is great. He's going to be the MVP this year. Patrick Mahomes is a different animal.
Right.
If you go into this game and you wind up accepting 3 points because of a drop, 3 points because of a missed opportunity, a punt because of a drop or a missed opportunity, you will lose.
Right. It's
just that simple.
I know Bucs fans are not going to want to hear this, but I'm going to say it over and over and over and over again until the Super Bowl. The Bucs are the underdog for a reason. If they play 100 times, the Bucs aren't going to win the majority of those games, not even close. But they can win this one. You just have to come out with a different mindset. You have to come out and understand the percentages are not in your favor. That if you are not a little bit more desperate and a little bit more aggressive, or maybe a lot more aggressive, you aren't going to win the game. And it's the Super Bowl. There's no chance of holding anything back. That's what people don't get when they play the Chiefs. They think, we'll kick this fit. We'll keep it close. No, it's not a normal team. They're going to score more than 30
keep points. It close because it will all of a sudden not be close.
Right. They can score in 5 seconds. They can take 10 minutes to score. They can score a million different ways. They are going to score points. You have to score more points. It's not about, let's run the ball and let's keep the ball away from the Chiefs. Doesn't matter. It doesn't work. That's not how it works, man. Like, you got to outscore them if you want to do it at the end of the day. It's going to be in the 30s, and you've got to have more points than them. That's just the way it is. If you don't accept that, that's hard for teams and coaches to accept, I think. They want to say, if we do our thing, if we do this or this defensively,
our game, and
telling you, it's not going to happen. Look at the one game they lost this season. The Raiders had like 40 points, and even that was like the Chiefs blew like 15 coverages. I've never seen Spags defense blow that many coverages in that game. I'm telling you, you have to change your approach offensively. You have to change your approach to first down. That's almost been laughable the last couple of weeks. Like, I mean, literally in the fourth quarter, I'm laughing like that they're running the ball still. I'm just like, clearly it's not. Like, this is ridiculous. And Brady overcame it all first half. If he doesn't overcome horrendous first down play calling and execution, they're not even close in that game probably.
I literally thought the Bucs were going to lose because of how many third downs they were in. In the first 4 drives, they were in. The first drive, he had to overcome 3 third downs. Every single series was a third down. They refused to pick up first downs on first or second.
They weren't third short either, a lot of them.
No, because I even tweeted, I said, at some point, when do you just accept that 2nd and 8 and 2nd and 10 are not that different?
Right.
Are essentially the same down. Right. Exactly. And one thing that I really liked from Bruce Arians, because we've talked about his no risk it, no biscuit philosophy, that's not really his philosophy as far as game management. That's his philosophy for play calling. That's his philosophy as an impatient coach. He's not a coach that wants to accept 12-play drives, 14-point drive, regardless of whether they score. He wants to move that ball down in chunks because eventually, and this is something that Tom Brady's great at, being patient. I think that's why he works so well in tandem with Bruce Arians, is Bruce does not want to wait to move the ball down the field. He doesn't want to take a long drive. But one thing he said yesterday was when he sent out the punt team, he looked down, the clock was stopped. He said, we got a couple plays that we really like here. And he said, we did not get to this point to not go out there and call plays to win the game. And we've criticized his philosophy because, like I said, from a game management standpoint, it doesn't always seem no risk and no biscuit. Mm-hmm. I loved that. Right. That was my favorite quote from the post-game presser. We did not get to this point to not call plays to win the game. And that's what you have to do. Every single series, every single play.
And that takes on a different meaning against Kansas City than it does against any other team in the league. It just does. They've done it for several years now. You have to accept that, and you have to know those numbers, and you have to be okay with that and go into the game knowing that your chance is being a little more desperate, a little more crazy than they are, and you got to do it. That's how you got to execute on those types of plays and situations. So, what's the Chiefs' weakness? Their secondary or their front? Raymond P wants to know. I mean, their weakness is definitely they could definitely be run on. They don't have amazing talent, really. They have Chris Jones, they have Tyrann Mathieu, and they have good players that execute their scheme outside of that. I mean, that's really what they are. They have good players who execute their scheme. For specific games, Steve Spagnuolo is one of the best. Somebody tweeted this out on Twitter. I don't even remember who it was, but it was a great point. And I thought this for a long time about Spags, but for specific games, he just can put together unbelievable game plans. With 2 weeks to go over the Super Bowl, he had a great game plan for the Bucs last time. And the Bucs almost overcame it late in the game. They adjusted some things. If the Bucs are not ready for pressure in this game, they will lose because you have to be able to protect Brady or have hots to get the ball out. The Chiefs Chiefs blitz 50% of the time last time that they met. And when they weren't blitzing, they were showing blitz and dropping out. You have to work on those things all week if you're the Bucs. You're just going to have answers for all the different pressure situations you could be in. And your answers can't be 4 verts throwing the deep ball up to Mike Evans because it's your only option. It's that or get blasted for a sack and get yourself out of field goal range. People have to understand the situation quarterbacks are in. They look and they see an interception in the box score. Tell me what was the better play in those situations. And that's where it gets frustrating in this offense sometimes, is that it's just so vertical. And it can be really frustrating sometimes when the execution isn't there, because if you miss a protection, there's just no bailout for quarterbacks like there are in others. I mean, you could see Rodgers. I mean, how many throws were easy yesterday? Tons of them. And he can make tough throws, but there's just a lot of easy throws in that offense. A lot of scheme open players.
The best offense in the championship round was the Chiefs. Mm-hmm. And the average depth of target for Patrick Mahomes' throws was like 6 yards. Mm-hmm. That just shows you don't have to be. I mean, Tom Brady's, I think, was over double. I think Mahomes was like 5.8 and Brady was like 12.3. And I know they don't have much on Tyreek, but
guess how many, Taylor, in 2 playoff games? Guess how many 20-plus air yard completions Patrick Mahomes has?
I think PFF said it's something ridiculous, like 1 or 3, like something ridiculous.
Zero in 2 games. Tyreek Hill dropped 1 the other day. He's only attempted 2.
Yeah, that's what
they're living in short to intermediate. They're living there because they can do up everybody. They can scheme everything open that they want because it's that kind of a system and that kind of an offense. The Bucs, not that way. There's a lot on the quarterback, and obviously Mahomes, because of the pressure issues, has to make a lot of things happen outside of structure in that offense this season. And so, he deserves credit for that. But schematically, what's in place for Kansas City is just very, very effective. If the Bucs had that offensive line, they would be dead because Brady doesn't move like Mahomes. And this offense is a lot of vertical passing. And so you need things to hold up, but the Chiefs have just schemed around those things unbelievably well, that their offense can do what they do and not really throw the ball down the field that much. Even this season, it hasn't been a big thing for them, which people don't get that with Mahomes, but that's the way that it's been. So it's pretty crazy. Tyler Johnson comes up big every game. Wow, Godwin 2.0. Yeah, he had the back shoulder drop. That
was rough.
Points off the board drop. I mean, that was going to be down there in field goal range for a guy who hasn't missed much this season to Ryan Suckup. And so that was a big one. I was regretting my AB's not, the absence of AB is not going to be the reason you lose this game tweet when that drop happened. But he came back up and made a great catch later in the game, and then honestly ran a pretty good route to get open late. I think he would have been open pretty easily if he wasn't grabbed for several yards on that last play of the game. And so the last meaningful play of the game, the pass interference. So yeah, I like Tyler Johnson a lot. He obviously, his back shoulder catch against New Orleans was arguably the play of the game. Will LaShawn McCoy retire if the Bucs win the Super Bowl? You probably
I don't know. I guess. I have no idea.
Yeah, I mean, he can't get active on teams the last couple of years, but he's going to have won a couple Super Bowls if the Bucs win this one, obviously. Yeah. So, let's see. I'm sorting back through here. We were going through pretty slowly there, so I'm trying to get back through some of the questions. Before I get to the next questions, though, I'm not telling you I'm picking the Chiefs yet. Buck 9755. Chill. Not saying that. That'll be Wednesday's show. Actually, that'll be next Wednesday's show. So I have a long time.
Yeah, we have a long time to keep it under wraps.
Right. I don't know if you guys know this or not, but it's been quite a year for the insurance world, with a record number of named storms at more than 30 storms, flooding in addition to wildfires, and not to mention the pandemic, With the commercial property and homeowners rate increase across the industry due to these catastrophes, Briar Greaves Agency has numerous carriers and options to help new and existing clients affected by these increases. Although these catastrophes have caused billions in losses, water damage from pipes breaking, washing machines and ice maker hoses leaking, water heaters bursting are still one of the number one claims for homeowners. Briar Greaves will examine existing policies to make sure you have the correct coverages and not just the best pricing. Personal and commercial auto insurance is another line of business that Briar Greaves Insurance can help with shopping through carriers such as Progressive, MetLife, Safeco, and Allstate, to name a few. Life insurance is being purchased at a record-breaking amount due to individuals thinking about the future of their families more and more because of the pandemic. If in good health, medical exams can usually be waived as a requirement and accelerate the life insurance purchase to protect families. The folks at Briar Greaves Insurance are big fans of the Buccaneers and proud sponsors of the Pewter Report podcast on pewterreport.com. Do what Scott did, what Mark did. Go to briargreaves.com, briargreavesinsurance.com, or call 813-876-4166. That's 813-876-4166 today. Get yourself switched over to Briar Greaves Insurance. They do terrific work, and they're terrific people, and they're Bucs fans. So you'll talk a little bit of Tampa Bay Bucs, a little bit of Super Bowl talk with Briar and Sam as well. So make sure you check that out, briargreavesinsurance.com. Yeah, how could you not pick the Chiefs? Terrence Davis says, I'm not going to decide that yet, but I'm just going to let everybody in the chat see that so they can address that if they need to. This Bucs team's got some magic going on, man, and I think there's something to that in sports. So, like I said, I've already said I think the Chiefs win if they play 100 times, but they're only playing once, and upsets happen. And so that's something that's important. Why did Fournette go to the left on that pressure? Man, I wish I had the play cut. I don't have the play cut yet. But, okay, so the third Brady pick, Fournette, goes to the left on that pressure. He's got to see that pre and post snap. He's got to be aware of that potential blitzer, and he's got to be able to pick that up with his eyes and get over there. And even if it means bailing out of the fake,
out of the play action, yeah,
exactly, out of that, like that's fine. That's his responsibility. You can't let your quarterback get hurt. So yeah, he messed it up, and that's all there is to it. You know how much you can do once that happens when you've got three verticals out there. You had 7-man protection. Brady's never expecting that to get blown immediately. You know what I mean? Like it should never happen. So, and Bruce said that today that they blew that protection. And so, tough spot to be in, especially there because you don't want to take a sack there because you're kind of right outside field goal range. If you can get a pass interference or jump ball, but then the ball never was able to get there because he got hit. Do I think the Bucs? Dara wants to know: do we think the Bucs will need 40 plus to beat the Chiefs? What advantages do we have over the Chiefs? Man, Scott wrote about this today in the 2-point conversion. His post-game column just dropped. Make sure you go over and check it out on pewterreport.com. Scott's 2-point conversion. You're going to want to read this one, folks. It's the one coming out of an NFC Championship game victory and going back to the Super Bowl. So he had good stuff to say, as he always does in that post-game 2-point conversion column. He says he thinks the Bucs need 30 points. 30 is a magic number. He's sticking with it even against the Chiefs. I think my man is crazy. I think the Bucs are going to need more than 30. If the Bucs score 30, that's great. But
I would like the Bucs to score 40. I think they have a better chance if they score 40. I think they may need 40. I don't think the Chiefs putting up 38 points is like out of the realm of possibility by any stretch of the imagination.
I don't know if they'll need 40. Because I'm starting to have a little faith in Todd Bowles. They might get 1 or 2 stops. I don't know if they'll need 40, but I think they'll need 35. Maybe. Yeah. Well, wait. We have time to think about this one. We have time to. Rojo better wake up or leave him on the bench. This is an interesting one. As much as we praise Leonard, he had the 20-yard run. It was a great run.
But outside of that, though.
Yeah, like this guy still dropped 2 passes. This guy blew a protection in a key moment of the game. He's been terrible in pass protection most of the season. Like he gets in the way. That's about it. You know what I mean? Like when he does see it, he gets in the way. But it's not really been a strength. It wasn't a strength in Jacksonville. He got thrown a lot of balls in Jacksonville, but he also had a lot of drops. And I mean, he's been okay. He's been the best option in the passing game. He's not been great still in the passing game. He almost dropped that wide open touchdown. In fact, they were looking at the reviews. I don't think there was a good replay, but he might have dropped that touchdown against the Saints on the angle route. I mean,
it's really tough to say
what they have, right, Taylor? Like,
yeah, it's really tough to say like Rojo's got to wake up or leave him on the bench because it's not like the Bucs have a bunch of really good options.
Right.
I mean, I think Rojo is probably their best option on a play-to-play basis, and even then, but Rojo I don't think is a great back. I think Rojo is a good back. I think fans really like him. I think if he wasn't missing 2 games, he would have hit 1,000 yards. 97 of that comes on one play against the Panthers, 98 of it. But he's not a great back. The Bucs don't have any great backs. They're literally, like you said,
Fournette, in my opinion.
Yes, I do agree with that.
Pass catcher and protector, and Fournette's not really good at that either. But he's better than Rojo. So I don't know.
If you could put them two together, they'd probably make a pretty good back, like a guy who can kind of catch the ball and run the ball pretty well.
Still make me want to find a running back this offseason, though.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's going to be a position of priority, right? I mean, like the Fournette's probably not going to be back, and LaShawn McCoy's not going to be back, and so you have Deshaun Vaughn. Maybe he can, hopefully he's ready to contribute next year. As the third back. Ronald Jones will still be able to be an effective back for you, but he's not getting re-signed, obviously, and this will be his last year of his deal that he's going into. And so now you're at a point where, okay, it's like, who's going to be your pass catching guy? And you could go and find James White in free agency. Maybe that's good enough. I don't know. I mean, he hasn't done much for a couple of years now. And so I think it might be the draft. I mean, it might be the first round of the draft. We got.
But at the same time, that's what we said last year. I mean, going into draft weekend, I think it was like, okay.
They had more holes at important positions. They didn't have a right tackle last year. And
that was dependent on the right tackles being gone, because that was definitely a possibility. The big 4 right tackles or offensive tackles being gone by the time the Bucs picked it 14. So then that was when the Clyde Edwards-Helaire, trade back, get Jonathan Taylor, get Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and then you end up getting Tristan Wirfs. You end up getting Antoine Winfield in the second, which way better than having no offense, Jonathan Taylor and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. They've both been very good this season, but I will take both of those players over them. But then, then you're kind of handcuffed into taking Keyshawn Vaughn probably earlier than you. I guess they liked him more than we did, but yeah. Not optimal.
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot of it's got to be a position of priority in the offseason. I'm not a big running backs or super valuable guy, but this group has made me rethink some things. No, I'm just kidding.
All of a sudden, Pam.
All of a sudden, let's take them in the first round. But no, I think it's going to be. They're not going to have go into an offseason with many needs if they re-sign who we think they're going to re-sign. And so then it becomes okay. Like, let's find a better player to help us out in these situations. We need one. You hope you don't have to spend a first round pick to do that, but you're going to be picking at the end of the first round. And so, you'll see who's there and who's available. By the way, if you're interested in the draft, do you remember that, Bucs fans? Do you remember the thing you've usually been focused on for about 2.5 months by now? Yeah. Well, that thing's still happening.
Conversation.
Right. The NFL draft is still happening, and we are going to have it covered for you at pewterreport.com in amazing fashion. We are super excited about the draft. Scott and I have been texting about the draft and watching a few players. And even yesterday, all my nervous energy before the game, I was watching Patrick Jones from Pitt and Joe Tyron from Washington, who Daniel Jeremiah mocked in the first round to the Bucs, both edge rushers, and watching these guys and getting ready and trying to figure out who the good players. So we're going to have Senior Bowl content coming out this week. The practices start tomorrow. I know that's crazy that normally we've been talking about the Senior Bowl for a couple weeks. Yeah. Now here it is, and the Bucs still have another game to play. So, yeah, it's awesome. But we're going to have Senior Bowl content this week because we've got a while till the Super Bowl. So, like I said, my column will be out. We'll be breaking down still things from the game against the Packers, and we'll be previewing the Chiefs. But at the same time, we're going to get you some Senior Bowl content. We're going to let you know players, especially at interior defensive line, edge rusher, maybe even offensive line. The Bucs, Ryan Jensen, Donovan Smith, they could get out of their contracts if they needed to without cap. They don't need to if they felt like that money could be better spent elsewhere. I don't think those things are going to happen. I'm just saying, we've got to be prepared for all scenarios. So we'll have our eyes on the trenches, and we'll have our eyes on the running back position. Obviously, I believe Najee Harris is still planning to participate. I know those decisions kind of go down to the wire for a lot of these players, but he could very well be a target in the first round, especially if he runs like 4.6, high 4.5s. Like people think that he might be there for the Bucs, and he might be a great option. So we'll talk about all those guys. We're actually going to talk about them this week on the show because we won't have a game to preview until next week, and so we'll get into a lot of the preview stuff next week. Well, we will talk about the Chiefs every day when we're going to talk about the Super Bowl every day. But we're also going to talk some Senior Bowl practices stuff on Wednesday or Thursday on the podcast as well once those get underway. Definitely Thursday after the practices are wrapped up. So if you're still thinking about the draft at all and you're like, okay, how can this team get better? Because they've got a chance to be back in this situation next year. They really do. And so we're going to have that angle covered for you as well. So it's going to be a fun draft in that way because it's kind of like looking to fill some critical holes and some last final pieces at other positions. So looking forward to the offseason in that regard. Brady as a GM or head coach. I think we get asked this like every show, but I don't believe Brady has any interest in coaching. I think he's been asked that before.
I don't either.
He's responded to it. So
somebody asked me that. It's like, why would he? He just doesn't seem like the kind of guy. Maybe if he just finally gets to the point where he can't play anymore and that competitive drive just overtakes him. But Brady just seems to me like a guy who's going to go live his life. He's going to do his media company. He's going to go with his wife, and they're going to be at every Met Gala and every event. I just think he's a guy that really is going to look forward to life after football when he eventually gets there. I don't think he thinks about that for a second. I don't think Brady has ever in his life thought about a second for life after football, realistically. Yeah. He lets his money guys take care of that.
Right,
he talks, we'll start a media company. Yeah, invest in that. Make sure my estate is okay. But
TB12, I mean, he's thought about
he's thought about life, continuing, but
right. Good question from Robert Farmer here, and appreciate the $5 super chat. We should use New England's scheme for Kansas City. Kansas City averages under 27 points versus New England the last 3 meetings. Thoughts are that those meetings, I don't remember, did they meet this year? I can't remember, but in those meetings, I don't know that the Patriots had the best, and not this season, but the last 2 seasons, probably the best man coverage corner in the league, and Stephon Gilmore. That helps a lot.
Yeah.
You have a guy that can match up like that. They've also had other good corners. They've had really good proven corners. Again, the Bucs corners are playing better right now, so it gives you some hope. I mean, that group can play better with a little bit of safety help, So I think that helps some. I still think the Chiefs, have opportunities to score in all their games. And so I'd have to look at the particular situations against New England to get a good feel for it. They've always been physical with Travis Kelce off the line of scrimmage. The Chiefs have answers for that, though. So it's not like it's a cure-all. Kelce's unbelievable. And so, they will flex him out. They'll isolate him 3-by-1. They'll put him on the single receiver side, isolate him against the corner, and he can win. He's a rare one. I mean, he really is. I mean, you look at his routes. I think he's maybe the best route running tight end ever. And so that can be a difficult guy matchup wise. Then they're going to move them all around. If you start chipping them off the line of scrimmage, with an end, they're just not going to put him out there. They're going to put him in the slot or something like that. Yeah. So there's so much they do with him. It becomes really, really hard. He's like harder to fit. You can say, okay, we're going to double Tyreek Hill. Okay. You double him. You know what I mean? They might get him the ball in the backfield or some, hit him with a screen or something, but you know how you're going to cover him. With Travis Kelce, it's like, what are we going to do? We're going to put a corner on him all game. I mean, the Steelers would do that some games, and they didn't really have a guy that could match up with them at that time. They weren't really, good enough to do that. They did that with Gronk in some games. They didn't really have a guy that matched up that well with him ever. But I mean, that's an option. But then you can put the same corner on every play. You're going to follow him with the corner. What happens when he comes in line? You're going to have the linebacker kicking outside on receiver or safety if you play 3 safety. So it's harder with the tight end. It's just harder to find answers. And whatever you do, Andy's going to make you wrong. And so your other guys in a bad position are going to have to step up and make a play. And so it becomes pretty tricky.
Any game plan you have for Hill and Kelce are going to have to constantly evolve.
Right.
Because Andy's playbook is going to constantly evolve all game.
And I think it gets interesting, Taylor, because what about man coverage on Kelce with Antoine Winfield? Or what about playing 3 safeties in this game? Bucs have not really done it much of the season. Obviously, I've clamored for it. Again, you won't beat Kansas City if you just do what you've always done. They'll figure you out. If you throw something wild at them, maybe you make a play.
Maybe figure it out. Maybe you get a turnover. That changes the game.
Exactly right.
All it takes is one good read, one right call, and the game's changed.
Remember, if you wanted to talk about the Patriots and how they've had success, Deron Harmon at free safety, Devin McCourty at free safety, and those guys alternating deep, Mike Edwards, Antoine Winfield, or Mike Edwards, Jordan Whitehead, and then Patrick Chung on tight ends. And they've played a lot of 3 safeties. They've kept their linebackers off the field. Now, they have not had linebackers like the Bucs linebackers, and so I get you're not going to want to take those guys off the field, but take off William Golston or Ndamukong Suh and let Devin White rush. And so,
let him be an edge rusher.
Right. Let him be an edge rusher. Get creative. Run the bleach package. If you haven't looked at it, go search PeterReport.com and read about the bleach package featuring White and Whitehead. If Whitehead is capable of playing in this game. We'll see. Bruce Arians said today, too early to know for sure, but he knows Whitehead's one of the toughest dudes out there. So,
what do you think the injury is? Because it wasn't broken collarbone. Could it have been a dislocation?
Could have been a dislocation. Could be like a need MRI, may have torn something, and then it might be a pain tolerance. You could play with things torn in your shoulder. How much is the pain tolerance? Can you tackle it all? That might be more what we're looking at if they didn't know. Now they may have known too, and the Arians is just lying. I mean, he knows he doesn't have to talk to the media for a while, so no reason to let the Chiefs know ahead of time who's hurt.
I was super surprised that they gave him to us in post game. I mean, I was I said in the group chat I said, if they were giving us, Jordan Whitehead to speak after the game, he's fine.
That was the strongest indication to me that he was fine.
And then
he would be okay. But I don't know. Now we don't know.
Yeah. And now all of a sudden it's question mark. It's like, when was the last time they give you an injured player after the game, directly after the game? You might get him later in the week or something, but.
Right. So Buck9755 says, how great is it to not be reading mock drafts in January? We're actually going to have a mock draft for you this week. We're going to have a Buck 7-round mock draft coming out this week. I think it's a Wednesday, right? Scott's put it out.
So now it's not your only thing to read.
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
Now it's additional content.
Right. Long Lost Glazer says, I'm honestly going to miss the combine. Being a Bucs fan, why is he different? I mean, it's true. I miss it like crazy. I love the draft. I mean, it's an opportunity to get better, like no matter what, whether you're winning or not. So, I grew up a Steelers fan.
Well, go ahead.
I was going to say, I grew up a Steelers fan and still love the draft, and they were always picking in the 20s, basically. So,
yeah.
Looking forward.
Someone said in the comments, they said the combine used to be our playoffs and the draft used to be our Super Bowl.
That's right.
So that's really what it is.
Now the Super Bowl is your Super Bowl, Bucs fans.
Welcome.
Man, this is a great point. We don't talk about this enough. Rich T. Mickens was key, and somebody else, I guess, prompted this, but Mickens was key in my opinion. Those hidden yards. Mickens has been great, and he's been great all season, especially kicker returner. I mean, I know that he went down early on that one that was maddening. But that might have been an instruction. We have to. Hopefully, we'll get some clarity on that. It might be the time for that might be past, but yeah, he has been great this season. I mean, he's been such an improvement over Kenyon Barner, right? Like,
great. I think he's been good. I think there have been times where I'm going just
as
leave the ball
in.
Yeah, I mean, there have definitely been times where I'm just like, just don't take it out. He's coming out to the 20. He's coming out to the 18. I think he's been good. I think he's been an upgrade.
Maybe I'm forgetting. Maybe I thought that was Barner that was doing that stuff. I'm looking.
Mickens was early in the season, and then Barner came in kind of in that midpoint after Mickens went down when he was on the COVID list, and then Barner came in, and then Mickens came back. But special teams is very weird because Mickens has been good. Suckup's been that was the I believe the question that prompted this answer. Suckup's been phenomenal. I feel like I can't even jinx him at this point because I've talked about how great he's done. And Mickens has been good, but the coverage has not been good on kickoffs or punt returns. It has not been good on either side.
No, it is.
So it's kind of a give and take, a double-edged sword. You've got Mickens has definitely been an improvement coming in. Suckup has been worlds different than what the Bucs have dealt with for the seasons.
But Mickens has been really good the last few games. And yeah, he's pretty good most of the season. I mean, he hardly has any returns. I mean, 14 returns in the whole year. But he had 5 for 121 yards against Green Bay. That's the most returns he got opportunities he got all season. Then he had 4 for 98 against the Rams. They were the only teams. And then he had 3 for 79 against the Giants, averaged 26 yards a return.
I guess maybe I was misremembering.
So when they give him opportunities, I think he's been pretty good. Yeah. So, I mean, but yeah, again, I forget you don't get many opportunities. Even punt returns, he's barely had an actual return this year. He's fair caught almost every one. So, I don't know. Maybe they pull out AV in this game. Maybe, again, it's like find those ways you can create a little bit of a
shot. I feel like especially coming off the knee injury. I know you've got nothing left to lose. It's the last game. You got to give it all.
He's fully healthy, though. I don't know.
Yeah. But
we got to remember the Chiefs have been down double digits or multiple scores in like 4 of their last 6 playoff games or something like that, and they won all of them. So I think all of them by double digits. So pretty well.
I think I saw another one. Mahomes has not lost a game by more than one possession since Iowa State 2016. Is that not? I don't want to watch my language here, but is that not just crazy? I don't know. He has not lost a game by. I'll have to go find the tweet, but he's not lost a game by more than one possession since Iowa State 2016.
Oh my gosh, it's unbelievable, dude! It's truly a cheat code. It's incredible. So suck up has been great, and that could be in this game too. That's something to remember. And I think Butker has struggled a little bit recently. I'm not totally sure about that.
Yeah, he did have some struggles, I know, early in the season. I haven't seen lately. But here, Emmanuel Ocho tweeted, Patrick Mahomes will play in 2 Super Bowls before ever losing an NFL game by more than one possession. The last time Patrick Mahomes lost by more than one possession, November 19th, 2016 versus Iowa State, had to be Cliff Kingsbury.
Oh my gosh. I mean, this is a monumental task. It's what it is. Like, yeah. I mean, for the Bucs, you've got to be, it's eye on the prize. For us, like, it's like, this is an awesome season. Like, the Chiefs are about to be a dynasty. Like, let's just be honest. The Chiefs are going to be a dynasty. And so, it's about disrupting that process for them. Like, can you put it off a year? It's going to happen, but can you put it off a year? Can it not happen this year? Can that next step for it not be taken this year? And so, I mean, the Bucs have an amazingly talented roster. You could argue their roster top to bottom is more talented.
As good or better,
But the Chiefs are just incredibly well coached. I mean, Bruce Arians said that today. On both sides of the ball, their ability to execute game plans and level of attention to detail is unbelievable to watch for sure. So defensive line's got to own it. And like Long Lost Glazer says, okay, we beat them by less than 7. I'm cool with that.
There you go. That's all you got to do. Beat them by 1. That's all that matters.
Exactly right. W's a W, baby. No
if
question.
The Giants can walk in against an undefeated Patriots team and beat them. Why not? Well, hashtag why not us?
Yeah. Buck9755 says, what a shame that Light didn't win Executive of the Year. That doesn't get announced till May, right?
I guess the Pro Football Writers of America.
Oh.
They had there, but they picked
Bean?
Who did they? Yeah, I think they did.
Get out of here. Unbelievable. I mean, there's the actual award doesn't get announced until May, I believe. I think. I don't know why that works that way, but yeah, I mean, you give it to anybody than Light, you're just making stuff up.
Brandon Bean.
Yeah, there's you just can't. Doesn't mean other GMs are bad, but there's just no question. Look at this whole team.
If you sign Tom Brady,
these are all light guys. Like, I mean, these are all light guys. He drafted, he signed him in free agency. He signed him in in day 3 of the draft, like undrafted free agent. I mean, I have no clue what the process could be for giving it. The dude has had an off season for the ages, but look at who's won this award in the past, and you can see that.
And I don't
hasn't belonged to many good GMs before. So,
what's your argument for being realistically like you sign one wide receiver and Josh Allen plays 10 completion percentage points better than he ever has?
Isn't it just off the past year? Like, it's not.
It's got to be.
It's not just. So, it's not what you've done over your tenure. It's just this.
So it's literally just it.
That's
like realistically for.
That's my understanding of the award, anyway.
It's just the last year, exactly the year.
I mean, here's the best part about this for Bucs fans. Like, and again, like, go win the Super Bowl. Like, absolutely, it's a huge deal. I'm not acting like it is. I'm not trying to act like it isn't. But this team is just in such good hands. I mean, even if Bruce Arians ends up retiring at some point in the near future, like, the transition, Jason Light is just the kind of GM that you want. There's not many teams that can say that, but he has proven it now for 4 straight years. He can build a roster. He can hire the right people. He can do it all. He's proven everything. Like, and I know people like, oh, he hired Dirk Cutter. Honestly, like, Dirk has good offense. Like, he has good offensive principles. This team produced. He may not have been the right fit as head coach, but it's not like he was like Hugh Jackson or Freddie Kitchens or.
And I'm not sure that was 100% Jason.
Right. I mean, I
don't know anything. But I would be interested to know, okay, we don't want Jameis to have another offensive coordinator. We've got this franchise guy, elevate him.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. That was a huge part of it. There's no question. That was a huge part of it. And
I will say that with Jason Light, one of the things that I respect the hell out of him for is he did struggle. And he's taken his lumps, he's taken his failures. He's not afraid to admit he doesn't have an ego.
Right.
He does not have an ego. He traded up for a kicker. He cut him a year later. He didn't say, we're going to stick with this guy and we're going to fix this guy and we're going to bring in a kicking specialist and blah, 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 blah. He cut him. He is not afraid to cut his losses and move on. And that's rare in this industry.
Yep, so they're in good hands, no question. We got to wrap this thing up. A long lost Glazer says, saw someone say they were excited for this matchup of quarterbacks who are most likely to dominate the NFL for the next 10 years.
Oh, I think Field Yates.
Then agreed. It's pretty amazing, man. After this is all over, we're going to have like a whole episode just like basking in what Tom Brady is. I mean, it's just, dude is 43 years old. And for people who get schematics, like, I know I can nerd out a little bit on that stuff, but this offense is just not easy for a quarterback at all. It is not like a scheme friendly. You look at these quarterbacks putting up like, Ryan Tannehill and all these guys, and it's like, I know they're playing well. I'm not saying they aren't, but it's just like there are things about it that scheme a lot of options for the quarterback and make it easy. And this is just not that offense at all.
Rodgers, Tannehill, Goff.
Right. Like all these guys get more help. I mean, Bruce just into the fire with you. And like 43, it's just, we'll never see anything like it again. We really won't. No. It's special. And we get to be firsthand witnesses to it. So it's pretty awesome. So there you have it, folks. If you're interested in more of our content and stuff that we do like this, tomorrow I'm going to be hosting a show on Locker Room tomorrow night. Not tomorrow night. It will be tomorrow afternoon, actually. Tomorrow afternoon, sometime in the afternoon. Actually, if you just go to Locker Room and download the app, if you have iOS and download the app, then you can follow Pewter Report on. The app is called Locker Room. You can follow Pewter Report on the app, and what it does is we'll go live, and it's a social audio platform. So we'll talk about something related to the game, the All-22. We'll talk about some of the plays in the game, the key plays in the game. We get into a little more of the details. It has been a really fun show. People have really liked it. I think we've had a nice little group in there. We chat about some nerd stuff, and it's fun. But it's changing the way we talk about sports. Locker Room it's the only place for live audio conversations about the takes, rumors, news, and teams you care about. You can react to sports news as it happens, gather all your friends and watch parties for the biggest games, rep your favorite sports teams, and find your community. Better sports talk is just a tap away. Download on the Apple App Store and join the conversation. That's Locker Room is the app. We'll get on there, follow Pewter Report, and I'll just send you an invitation at that point when we go live, so you don't have to like look for anything anywhere else. Yeah. I usually tweet it out, but so just kind of be aware of that going down and tomorrow, and then we'll be doing that again before the Super Bowl and at halftime of the Super Bowl too. We'll have that going on. It's going to be a lot of fun. So it's a great time to be a Bucs fan, and we'll be back on Wednesday night, 7:30 p.m. for another podcast, and then Thursday, 7:30 p.m. as well for another podcast. So yeah, as Haas Y Duke says, Tuesday Locker Room sessions are the best. They are a lot of fun. It's a good little Bucs insider fan thing to be a part of. We're up there too. We're up over 70 followers now, I think, Taylor, and that's a brand new platform. So I'm pretty excited.
Yeah,
about that.
And they're super fun. I mean, when we do them before the game, when we do them at halftime, I know the comments are fun and everything like this that you guys do on the podcast, but just being able to go, come on up and just talk with us. I mean, it's just such the level of interaction with you guys is, that's my favorite thing about this job. I've said it a million times. I love covering the Bucs. I love writing about them. My favorite thing is giving the fans information, hearing what they think about the information, what they think. That's just my favorite thing. You guys make it so much fun, and Locker Room just adds to that fun.
Last thing I'll throw out there, if you or anybody you know is a business owner that you think would benefit from advertising with Pewter Report, hit me up on Twitter at Ledyard NFL Draft. My DMs are open. Send me a DM and let me know who that person is, and I can look how to get a hold of them and things like that. We would love to get some of you on here as advertising. Right now, we can help a lot of businesses. Let's just put it that way. There's a lot of traffic. There's a lot of attention on the Bucs. Yeah. So if you have people in mind on Twitter at Ledyard NFL Draft, just DM me, let me know, or jledge15@gmail.com. Hit me up on email, and I'd appreciate that. And we'll try and get in touch with those people as soon as possible. So thank y'all for listening. I appreciate y'all for listening and for joining us on another edition of the Pewter Report podcast. Out.